The stars around Lasara 3 were wrong. Commander Aaron Holt noticed it the moment the Vanguard dropped out of warp. The sector always shimmered with the orange glow of its twin suns, but today the system looked hollow, dimmed, as if light itself hesitated to touch the world below. God! Lieutenant Rhea whispered beside him. Is that smoke? The forward screens magnified the colony. What should have been a thriving settlement, white spires, green fields, orbital traffic, was now a charred wound. Clouds of ash drifted into the thin upper atmosphere. No surface lights. No signals. No movement. Holt stood rigid, fingers gripping the railing so hard his knuckles whitened. He had heard the distress call only 20 minutes earlier, a broken message full of static and panicked shouting. The final voice belonged to his sister, Mara. Aaron, listen, don't trust. Then the line went dead. Bring us lower, Holt ordered. His voice stayed steady, but the bridge crew noticed the tension in his jaw. Scan for survivors. Sensors beat back negative after negative. The Vanguard descended through the haze. Charcoal flakes spread across the viewport like drifting snow. As the ship pierced the smoke layer, the full horror emerged, entire districts blackened to the bone. Buildings collapsed inward as if folded by an invisible fist. Streets melted into glass-slick trails. A Marine officer approached. Sir, teams are ready. Just give the go. Deploy, Holt said, stepping away from the console. I'm going with Gamma Team. Rhea turned sharply. Commander, procedure. He met her eyes. That was my colony. She didn't argue again. The landing craft touched the scorched plaza with a muted thud. Heat still radiated from the stone tiles. Holt jumped out first, his boots crunching over fragments of shattered walls and fused glass. A metallic smell, burned metal mixed with something far worse, hung in the air. Gamma Team fanned out, helmets sweeping side to side. Holt paused at the base of a ruined communications tower. The metal frame sagged inward as if someone had carved it with a giant blade. Thermal signatures? He asked. Nothing living, the Marine medic replied. No movement, no organics. Sir? I'm sorry. Holt inhaled slowly, pushing the grief back down where it couldn't paralyze him. There would be time later, after he understood what had happened. At the far end of the plaza, a black scorch mark coated an entire wall, a clean, sharp-edged line. Holt crouched beside it and scraped a sample into a vial. The residue glinted with a faint silver shimmer. Not pirate tech, he muttered. This is council grade. Rhea finished behind him, her voice tight. You're thinking what I'm thinking. He was. And he hated the implication. The Council's defense weapons were rarely seen outside controlled military zones. They were not sold. They were not stolen. They were deployed only with authorization from the highest governing ranks. Holt stood. Run this back to the lab? I want confirmation. Yes, sir. As she left, the Marine sergeant approached. Commander, there's something you should see. Holt followed him across the plaza to a half-collapsed shelter. Inside, several survivors huddled in a corner, eyes wide with shock. Most were children or elderly, covered in dust and burns, trembling from cold and fear. The oldest woman looked up weakly. Commander, they didn't warn us. Who? Holt kneeled, voice soft but sharp with urgency. Did you see the attackers? They came from the sky, she whispered. Ships with no insignia. They fired on anything that moved. Buildings, homes, no questions, no demands. She swallowed, tears streaking through the ash on her face. They targeted the comm tower first. Holt's pulse kicked. Did anyone escape? Did anyone send additional messages after the tower fell? No, she said. Everything went silent. Holt nodded slowly. You're safe now. Medical teams are on the way. He stepped back outside, the weight in his chest growing heavier. There had been no warning. No demands. No claims. Just annihilation. Why? Back aboard the Vanguard, Holt studied the bridge display as data streamed in. The lab confirmed it. The weapon residue was council-grade plasma, restricted to elite enforcement divisions. So either someone stole it, Rhea said quietly, or someone authorized this. Holt didn't respond. He already knew. The Galactic Council had debated human expansion for years. Lysara 3 was Earth's fastest-growing colony. Jealous rivals saw it as a threat. Some claimed humans spread too quickly. Others feared their death world traits would shift the balance. But none of that justified a massacre. He clenched his jaw. Set course for the Council spire. Full burn. Rhea hesitated. Aaron, maybe wait until we have a clearer picture. Charging into the Council chambers could. We lost an entire colony, he said. They'll answer for this. His voice left no room for disagreement. The spire was a towering structure of silver lattice and living crystal, suspended above the Council's homeworld like a crown. As Holt shuttle-docked, he forced his anger into a tight, cold focus. Rage would get him nowhere. Precision would. The Council chamber opened around him in sweeping arcs of polished stone and bioluminescent panels. Representatives from dozens of species floated, perched, or stood in their designated medians. Conversations halted as he entered. High Consul Vexor Naltor presided at the central dais, his translucent skin rippling faintly under the hall's lighting. His narrow eyes assessed Holt with a thin, unreadable expression. Commander Holt, Vexor said. We received your message. A tragedy, yes, but rushing here suggests impatience. Explain yourself. Holt held up the vial. Lysara 3 was hit by Council-grade plasma. Entire districts vaporized. Hundreds dead. This, he gestured to the chamber, was no pirate raid. Vexor's eyelids lowered to half-mast. Plasma residue is easy to forge. Humans have a reputation for dramatizing losses. Perhaps you wished to provoke sympathy. A low murmur spread through the chamber. Holt stepped closer. Are you accusing me of fabricating evidence of my people's deaths? I am suggesting, Vexor replied calmly, that humans often interpret chaos as conspiracy. Your species reacts, emotionally. Holt locked eyes with him. One of my own died there. You think I'm emotional? You're right. But I'm also correct. Vexor waved a thin hand dismissively. We will form a committee to review your claims in due time. Until then, refrain from spreading unfounded accusations. Holt stared at him, realization forming like ice in his veins. The consul wasn't surprised. He wasn't shocked. He wasn't confused. He already knew. And he didn't care. Holt turned slowly, restraining the urge to draw his sidearm. As he walked down the long aisle out of the chamber, one thought cut through everything. This wasn't neglect. It was intent. The Council had chosen silence. So humanity would answer in a voice the galaxy couldn't ignore. Night always fell strangely inside the galactic spire. The hour cycle dimmed the lights but kept a faint sapphire glow rippling through the crystalline architecture, as if the building itself breathed. Commander Aaron Holt moved quickly through the deserted corridors, steps echoing against the polished floors. His uniform jacket hung open, insignia removed, a small precaution to avoid unnecessary attention. He reached a sealed maintenance door and tapped a discreet pattern along the panel. A moment later, the locks disengaged with a quiet click, and a tall, kite-and-armored figure stepped out of the shadows. Late, Varati murmured. Her voice carried the sharp, layered resonance of her species, the Trinari. Security rotations changed twice tonight. Risk level elevated. Holt's expression stayed grim. After what I said in the chamber, they're watching everything. They're watching you, she corrected. They don't expect me to help you. They think Trinari avoid human problems. She paused, mandibles flexing slightly. Tonight they bet wrong. Holt gave her a brief nod. Varati was one of the few council officials he trusted, a former intelligence officer turned archivist, with a reputation for honesty in a place built on political maneuvering. Let's get to the vault, Holt said. We need hard proof. She guided him into the service tunnel. You realize what you're risking. Unauthorized access to council archives carries execution-level charges. If the Council orchestrated Lasara 3, Holt replied, they've already committed worse. Then hope we find the truth before the truth finds us. The data vault lay deep within the spire's core, guarded by layers of bio-coded locks. Varati disabled the first security seal, fingers moving rapidly across the alien interface. Holt watched her work, unwavering. After the third seal, she spoke without looking up. You need to be prepared for disappointment. In what way? Not every answer brings justice, she said. Sometimes it brings consequences. Holt kept silent. Consequences no longer scared him. The final lock released with a heavy metallic shift. They entered a circular chamber filled with floating crystalline nodes. Each node stored classified communications, orders, reports, everything the Council never wanted public. Varati accessed an orb, scrolling through illuminated strands of text. We begin with military deployment logs. If someone authorized a strike, it must be here. Start with the days before the attack, Holt said. She sifted through the data, her lower set of eyes narrowing. Odd. There's a gap. What kind of gap? 27 hours of restricted files. High console access only. Holt exhaled slowly. Download everything around it. She transferred the data to a portable crystal. As she worked, Holt scanned the chamber's perimeter, habit born from years of field service. Varati clicked softly. Found something. She projected a fragment of encrypted communication. The text flickered, partially corrupted. Deployment request, our pattern neutralization. Target zone, Lasara Sector, Colony Code 3. Authorization pending, high console approval required. Holt's pulse quickened. That's an offensive protocol. Not defensive. Yes, she said quietly. Our pattern is for rapid elimination, used only against confirmed hostile armies. There were civilians there, Holt said. No military installations. No war. Another fragment slid into view. Mercenary assets prepositioned along outer belt. Payment routed through untraceable channels. Awaiting signal. Varati froze. Mercenary assets? The Council outlawed their use centuries ago. Unless someone revived them for dirty work, Holt said. Before she could answer, a loud warning tone reverberated through the vault. Varati's eyes widened. That's a trace alert. Someone tried accessing the same files remotely. Can they see us? No, but they know the file was opened. Holt moved in closer. Decrypt faster. She worked quickly, mandibles flicking with tension. The final fragment decoded with a snap of light. Operation confirmed. Proceed at once. Vexor now tore. Holt felt every muscle tighten. There it was, the Council's direct involvement. Orders from the galaxy's highest authority to annihilate a human colony. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't rogue forces. It was sanctioned murder. Varati whispered. Aaron, you can't confront him yet. Not like this. I don't intend to confront him. Holt closed the projected fragment, jaws set. I intend to expose him. But you don't have the full chain of commands or timestamps. We have enough. She looked at him, a rare spark of fear breaking through her composed demeanor. Aaron, think. If Vexor knows we access this, you'll be detained or executed. Humans are already under scrutiny. One wrong move and they'll brand humanity a destabilizing threat. Holt took the crystal drive. Then I'll be careful. Before she could reply, distant footsteps echoed outside. She stiffened. Security patrol. They're coming this way. Holt scanned for an alternate exit. Is there another route? Varati pointed to a side hatch. Service conduit. Long drop. You'll have to climb. And you? I'll stay, she said. If they see both of us missing, they'll know you had help. If I remain, they'll assume you forced your way in alone. That puts you at risk. I can negotiate. You can't. Footsteps grew louder. Holt hesitated only a moment. Thank you? No gratitude, she replied firmly. Just survive. He slipped into the hatch and began climbing down the narrow conduit. The temperature rose as he descended, metal warm beneath his gloves. Above him, muffled voices questioned Varity, demanding explanations, running scans, threatening detainment. She held firm, denying involvement. By the time Holt reached the lower access chamber, alarms were echoing through the spire. He pressed against a shadowed alcove, breathing hard but steady. His wrist comm activated with a soft vibration. The encrypted Earth channel flickered online. "Commander Holt," said Fleet Director Nakamura, a voice sharp. "We received early fragments from your relay. If even half of it's accurate, the Council is deeply compromised." Holt whispered. "I'm transmitting the full proof soon. Vexor authorized the attack. We suspected as much. But you need to understand, the Council is preparing sanctions against Earth." Holt's brow furrowed. "Sanctions? For what?" "For accelerated militarization," Nakamura said. "A manufactured charge. They want to restrict our fleet expansion. Possibly force disarmament." Holt clenched his teeth. "They massacre our colony and then accuse us of provoking instability." "It's a political purge," Nakamura replied. "You must return immediately. The situation is escalating." Holt glanced back toward the upper levels, where security squads had begun searching. "I can't walk out of the spire. They'll detain me on sight. Then disappear," Nakamura said. "Get the data out. Once we have it, we'll act." The channel closed. Holt tucked the crystal inside his vest and slipped through the maintenance hall. Every corridor felt like a tightening net. Security drones hovered above observation points. Guards checked IDs at intersections. He moved carefully, keeping to shadows, mimicking staff routines, avoiding direct lines of sight. His heart pounded, but his mind remained sharp. Military training kicked in, slow breathing, minimal movement, constant evaluation. At the final junction, he paused as two guards passed. "Human commanders gone rogue," one muttered. "Orders are to capture on sight." "Capture?" the other scoffed. "More like silence." Holt waited until they vanished, then slid through the service hatch leading toward the docking tier. He didn't know if he would reach his ship. He didn't know if Varity had escaped interrogation. He didn't even know how far Vexor would go to bury the truth. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. They attacked the wrong species. Tonight, the Council hunted him. Tomorrow, humanity would answer. The mercenary stronghold drifted in the shadow of a dead moon, an armored station with no transponder, no traffic logs, and no diplomatic ties. A perfect hiding place for criminals who served powerful patrons. A perfect place to bury evidence. Commander Aaron Holt studied the structure from the cockpit of the stealth shuttle. Its hull looked like a jagged scar welded from stolen scrap, mismatched plating, exposed conduits, and gun arrays aimed in every direction. Nothing about it suggested caution or restraint. Whoever ran this base was confident no one would dare intrude. Holt intended to prove them wrong. "Approach vector locked," Sergeant Vale said beside him, adjusting the shuttle's cloaking field. "No scans hitting us yet." "Good," Holt replied. "Once we breach, we split exactly as planned. No second guesses." Vale smirked behind his visor. "We never second guess. We're human." Holt didn't smile. Not tonight. They had followed Varity's decrypted routes, buried coordinates tied to the mercenary fleet involved in Lysara 3. Intelligence suggested their warlord, Corthan Jex, remained docked here. If anyone could link the attack directly to Vexor, it was him. A confession from the one who carried out the strike. The shuttle drifted close to a maintenance port. Holt triggered the maglock, and the hull clamped down with a muted thud. "Breaching," Vale said, igniting the plasma cutter. A circular slice of metal hissed, then fell inward. The air smelled faintly of ozone as Holt led the squad inside. Dim red lights flickered along the corridor. The place felt abandoned, but Holt knew better. Mercenaries hid in darkness like predators. Gamma squad fanned out. "Heat signatures ahead," whispered Corporal Dawes. 3, no, 4. Holt raised his hand. The squad halted. He moved silently toward the next junction, peeking around the edge. 4 mercenaries lounged near a storage bay, armored jackets half open, weapons resting against crates. They looked bored. Unalert. They'd grown used to impunity. Holt stepped out, leveled his rifle, and fired before they could blink. 3 dropped instantly. The 4th reached for his pistol. Vale dropped him with a single shot. Clear, Holt said. Move. They advanced deeper into the station, encountering increasingly fortified doors and patrols. Each firefight was swift and decisive, human training and precision turning ambushes into predictable failures. The mercenaries were brutal but sloppy. They had never fought disciplined soldiers from a death world. Holt pressed forward with unrelenting focus. He wasn't here to win the station. He was here for one man. A reinforced blast door blocked their path to the central command deck. Holt planted a shaped charge and stepped back. Doors armored, Vale warned. Might take 2. Then we'll give it 2. The first explosion buckled the frame. The second tore it open with a shriek of metal. Inside, alarms blared. Screens flickered. Against the far wall stood Corthan Jex, 7 feet tall, scaled skin glistening, heavy gauntlets strapped to both arms. His eyes widened as Holt entered, rifle raised. You! Jex hissed, voice gravel-thick. Human commander! Holt didn't waste time. You led the Lasara 3 strike. Jex's mandibles twitched into a cruel grin. We did what we were paid to do, Vale muttered. Bold admission. Holt stepped closer. Who hired you? Jex chuckled. Does it matter? Your colony burned. Your people screamed. Your council did nothing. Our council? Holt repeated. Jex's grin faltered. You said our council, Holt said quietly. So the order came from inside. Someone high enough to get you council-grade plasma. Jex hesitated. Holt saw the opening. You want your life to mean something? Tell me who signed the contract. Jex laughed harshly. You think threatening me will earn truth? I wasn't threatening you, Holt said. I was offering a chance. His voice hardened. The threat comes now. He pulled a small sphere from his belt and tossed it onto the floor. Instantly it projected a holographic lattice around the room, an unbreakable recording field. Confess, Holt said. Or this room becomes your tomb. Jex's eyes narrowed. You wouldn't dare. Holt stepped forward, face inches from his. I watched an entire colony turn to ash. I buried survivors whose families never stood a chance. I heard my own sister die over a broken transmission. Try me. The room fell silent except for the hum of exposed wiring. Jex's breath rasped. His bravado cracked. It wasn't my idea, he growled. We were contracted through intermediaries. Payment routed through the Council's clandestine accounts. Whose authorization? Jex snarled, then spat a single name like poison. Vexer. Vale stiffened. High Consul Vexer. Jex nodded once. He wanted your colony gone. Said humans were becoming inconvenient. Holt stared at him, fury sliding beneath his calm expression. Why tell us now? Holt asked softly. Because I know what humans do when they want revenge. Jex muttered. I'd rather the truth damn the one who paid us than face human mercy. The recording lattice locked the confession into irreversible memory. At that moment, an explosion rocked the station. Gamma squad stumbled as sparks rained from the ceiling. Vale checked his scanner. Commander, we're intercepted. Council peacekeepers just dropped out of warp. They're boarding. Holt's eyes hardened. They're not here for justice. No, Vale said. They're here to shut us up. Holt grabbed Jex's collar. You're coming with us. Jex resisted, letting out a guttural cry. If I leave with you, Vexer will hunt me across every star. Better him than us, Holt said. Move. They rushed back through the corridors as alarms intensified. Enemy patrols clashed with them in brutal close-range bursts. Holt fired with cold precision, dropping targets even as the station trembled around them. When the docking bay came into view, peacekeepers were already flooding through the opposite entrance. "Go!" Holt shouted. Gamma Squad sprinted. Holt dragged Jex forward while Vale provided covering fire. The mercenary warlord stumbled, terrified. A laser blast tore through a crate beside them. Holt shoved Jex ahead, shielding him from the second shot. They dove onto the shuttle ramp as Vale sealed the hatch. "Punch it!" Holt ordered. The shuttle blasted free just as peacekeeper ships opened fire. Vale veered sharply, weaving through debris and booster trails. "Commander!" Dawes called from the tactical console. "Peacekeepers transmitting a direct message. High encryption. Put it through." A familiar, cold voice filled the cabin. "Commander Holt," Bexer said, "you have taken actions that endanger the stability of the galaxy. Turn back and surrender. I will ensure your species is punished swiftly rather than painfully." Holt stared at the speaker, expression unwavering. "We're bringing your crimes into the light," he said. "And when the galaxy sees what you've done, your council will fall silent." "You presume humanity has leverage," Bexer replied. "You have none." Holt ended the transmission. "Set course for Earth," he told Vale. "We're done playing defense." Vale nodded. "Retaliation protocol? Activate the moment we're in range." Holt looked down at the crystal drive in his hand, the confession, the proof, the spark that would ignite the largest political firestorm in centuries. Humanity hadn't started this war. But they would finish it. Admiral Reyes stood before the central holodable aboard the Resolute, watching the projection of the council chamber flicker with distorted light. Even at this distance, she could read their panic. Delegates argued over one another, gestures sharp, eyes wide. Facing extinction had a way of stripping away centuries of political posturing. The message cue chimed. Another plea from the Zalari Chancellor. Another attempt to surrender. Another apology carved from fear. Reyes closed it without a word. Humanity had given them chances. Warnings. Treaties. Mercy. The Council had answered each with betrayal. Now they would understand the cost of poking the last apex predator in the dark. She exhaled and turned toward Commander Idris. "Status of the drop teams?" "All squadrons green," Idris replied. "They're awaiting your go." "And the Leviathan shield?" "Holding. The Council's blockade is gone. Your strike path is clean." Reyes clasped her hands behind her back. "Open link to the ground teams." A soft tone filled the bridge. Hundreds of voices stilled. "This is Admiral Reyes," she began. No theatrics. No venom. Just certainty. "The Council spent centuries convincing the galaxy that humanity was primitive, dangerous, uncontrollable. They feared what we might do. Today, they learn what we choose to do." Her gaze hardened. "You are striking military targets only. Civilians are off limits." "We are not them." Silence answered, steady, disciplined. "Execute." The channel cut. Idris watched her with a mixture of awe and discomfort. "You know the galaxy will never forget this." "That's the point," Reyes said. "Fear works best when it's earned." The Resolute descended into the upper atmosphere of Helion Prime, the Council's bastion world. The planet's golden spires, once a symbol of their authority, now trembled under the shockwaves of precision strikes. Human drop pods burned through cloud layers like falling stars, each carrying squads who moved with mechanical clarity. Reyes monitored the operation through her neural interface. Teams secured defense hubs, shut down orbital artillery, and seized communication towers. No unnecessary casualties. No chaos. Every move deliberate, surgical. Humanity fought like a force that had studied war too long, and paid for it too dearly. On the ground, Captain Nara Quinn kicked through the shattered door of a War Command bunker. Consoles sparked around her. A council general raised his hands in surrender before she even spoke. She lowered her weapon but didn't soften her voice. "You'll be treated. But you're answering for what you sanctioned." The general swallowed. We never believed you'd come this far. Quinn tilted her head. That was your first mistake. She transmitted the bunker's coordinates. Control center secured. Hours later, the capital fell without a final battle. The Council Guard laid down arms in sequence, watching human units move through the streets with cold focus. Civilians peeked from shuttered dwellings, not seeing monsters, but disciplined soldiers sweeping in silence. Reyes touched down at the heart of the capital in a storm-gray exosuit. Idris followed close behind. The city's towering spire, the Senate, loomed ahead. Hard to believe, Idris murmured. Believe it, Reyes said. This is where they plan to erase us. Security drones scanned the perimeter before the entrance hissed open. Inside, delegates sat chained to their own chamber seats. Energy binds glowed at their wrists. The Zalari Chancellor rose as far as the restraints allowed. Admiral Reyes, surrender is unconditional. We beg, truly beg, that humanity shows mercy. Reyes walked to the center of the hall, boots echoing on glass flooring. Mercy is only given to those who earn it. We will cooperate, the Chancellor insisted. Everything your people demand. What we demand, Reyes cut in, is accountability. You ordered an extermination protocol on a civilization that never attacked you. You declared humanity a threat to galactic equilibrium. You justified genocide as a precaution. Her voice sharpened, though it never rose. We are not your children. We are not your experiment. We are not your warning tale. A Calorian delegate trembled. What will you do with us? Idris stepped forward. You'll stand trial. Fair, transparent, public. Every evidence archived. Every victim heard. The Chancellor seemed stunned. You're not executing us? Reyes stared him down. We don't kill unarmed politicians. We're not here for vengeance. We're here for truth. A ripple of disbelief passed through the chamber. Reyes continued. Humanity will dismantle your military authority. Planetary autonomy will be restored to member worlds. And the era of the Council's shadow governance ends today. She paused. But we will not rule you. We refuse to become what you feared. Delegates exchanged confused glances. You don't want the galaxy? One asked. Reyes shook her head. We want to be left alone, Idris added. And we want every world you subjugated to have the same choice. The chamber fell quiet. A silence heavy with the realization that humanity's justice was colder and more terrifying than any retaliation they imagined. Outside, liberated worlds broadcast cheers across the network. Others awaited the tribunal with cautious hope. Humanity did not install puppet rulers or seize territory. Their troops withdrew within hours, leaving only a temporary oversight committee to manage trials. To the galaxy, it felt impossible. To humans, it felt obvious. As Reyes walked back toward the landing site, Idris spoke softly. You think they'll ever understand us? No, she replied. But they'll remember we didn't burn their worlds when we had cause. They'll remember we acted with precision, not rage. And they'll remember that pushing humanity to the brink is the one mistake no species survives. Idris exhaled. So this is the end of it? Reyes looked out across the fractured skyline, dawn breaking through smoke. No, she said. This is the beginning of a galaxy that finally knows who we are. She paused, then added. And what we'll do to keep the peace. The ramps of the Resolute opened. Engines hummed. A final transmission echoed across the stars. Humanity does not seek war. But we finish what others start. The galaxy listened. And for the first time, it understood.